So we're going to talk tonight about when you second guess that your twin is your twin. And especially now with what's been going on with some of these shows on Netflix and Amazon on these cults, twin flame, twin ray cults. But here's the thing, we're going to be talking about that because many of my clients are actually in a wonderful state of transcendental acceptance to their separation. But part of the separation that is increasing, the stage of separation is the fact that they're constantly second guessing, gaslighting themselves so that the pain isn't so intense. Does that make sense? So it's almost like it can't be my twin. It's got to be wrong. It's got to be fake. And it's almost like saying, it's like a little kid waiting for a bicycle for Christmas and just keep saying, well, daddy and mommy can't afford the bicycle, so I don't need the bicycle. I actually don't want the bicycle. And backpedaling away from real desire. You denying your twin's not going to make it go away. It's not going to make your dreams go away, your telepathy go away, your connections go away, the synchronicity go away. It's not going to make any of it. You can play all kinds of mind games with yourself, and all you're going to do is hurt yourself and hurt your twin, because what you feed you feeds to your twin. I keep saying that. It's not just telepathy. Okay, telepathy is me reading your thoughts, you reading mine. Okay, that's telepathy. It's a umbilical cord. It's a spiritual umbilical cord where you literally feel everything your twin is feeling. And some of you feel it more intensely than others. You can feel if your twin's having sex with someone else. You can feel if your twin's going through a massive dark night of the soul and depression. You can feel even when your twin is sick. You can feel it. And you can hear their thoughts or their consciousness or their state of mind. You denying that your twin is your twin isn't going to help you. Just like you trying to cord cut your twin isn't going to help. The only thing that's going to help in cord cutting it, there's a positive actually, to be honest. The positive is that you're going to cord cut all the crap. You're going to actually remove all the bullshit that you and your twin have had to live through in many, many incarnations. Okay? That's probably the only benefit. But in terms of like literally cutting your twin away, yeah, good luck. Yeah. Now, if you have a soulmate, or a what you guys call karmic, which I don't call that. I don't like that word at all, because we're all karmics, okay? All of us. We all have karma, good and bad. So I would call them lessons. So with lessons, lovers that were lessons, you can cord cut and it's over. You're done. And depending on how you do it, hopefully you do it gently, kindly, respectfully, and with gratitude of what you've learned, even with a toxic one, I'm not joking, so that you don't take on karma of resentment, regret, shame, all this shit's subtle. So one of my clients has been working with me for about a year and a half now, and she's finally come to like lay it on the line saying, I think part of my problem is that I have been denying that this is my twin. And that is a major, move in the step to the right direction, because now she can actually work on accepting what this is and co-creating with the universe a union, okay? And not just, and I told her, you're already in union. She is in union. Sometimes union isn't being lovers. Sometimes union, which is more important than anything, is you guys talking to each other every day. That's union. And it's almost like you're talking, developing a friendship, developing an understanding, maybe former lovers saying, well, let's just be friends. Let's see where this is going. And then there's the frustration, of course, because if you're feeling sexual tension, okay, unless your twin is addicted to shit, addicted to pills, this, that, and the other, unless they're addicted, which would shut them down in these subtle, wonderful connections that you have. Okay, addiction usually is the only reason why a twin won't feel what you feel. I'm being real. Well, how would they? They're fucking high. So obviously they're not going to feel what you feel, because you're sober and you're feeling it. And they're high all the time. They're smoking pot all the time, doing something to be high all the time. So they're not going to be as on point, okay? So that's a problem, right? So the point is, let's say that's not the issue. You both are pretty sober people, a glass of wine here or a joint here, whatever, right? Okay, so I'm not judging. I'm not saying dead cold to stone cold sober. I'm talking about addiction, okay? And so we're not talking about addiction. So let's say you're having your glass of wine or your pot or whatever the hell you're doing here and there, just to because you whatever, for whatever reason, here and there, you're fine. At that point, if you start feeling sexual tension and desire and frustration, I can guarantee your twin's feeling it too. It's feeling it too. So your job isn't to just run to them and say, oh, you're my twin, let's be together. Your job is to say, I'm just so happy we're together. I just have such a great time with you. I think you're so brilliant. As I say this, it's 12:12 on the clock. On the side note, this might be important to one of you out there. I know it's important to me. 12:12. 12 is the sacrifice and the victim in Kabbalah numerology. It also means 3, which is the Trinity, the mind, the body, and the soul. It's the balance of all. Also, 12:12 is 6. 6 is love, connected to Venus, the planet Venus, numerologically speaking. So that's your message on that end. But when you are in union, meaning you're talking to your twin, and you're not, you're not lovers, or you've put being lovers on hold until you can figure your stuff out. You're in union, believe it or not. You may not be you might not be sleeping together, making love, sharing bills, raising kids together, but if you're talking to each other every day, you're in union. You're in union. You're not fighting, you're not playing games, you're not gaslighting each other. You're just both afraid to admit that you need each other. You're both afraid. And so that is part of the issue. But if that's happening, I can tell you that the universe is asking you guys to just savor this time together and really getting to know each other on a deeper level, on a deeper spiritual level, in sharing books, sharing ideas, concepts, dreams, downloads, whatever, right? Past life remembrance, things of that nature. Does that make sense? And so just if you could just understand that and accept that, then you're on your way. In fact, be grateful for that, because there are some people who have not spoken to their twin for 10, 20, 30 years. Okay? There are some twins that have actually ghosted their twin for 10 years. Okay? They're nowhere to be seen. That's awful. That's awful, because twins, sometimes all you need to get your B12, your spiritual B12 shot, is just to hear the voice of your twin on the phone. It's like nectar to your soul. Your soul recognizes their voice, and vice versa. Vice versa. So when you're listening to coaches saying, oh, well, maybe it's time for you to have a separation and just kind of no contact, unless there is massive, what I mean is brutal physical violence, verbal violence, right? If that's happening, I don't give a shit if it's your twin. Don't stay around that situation. But aside from that, if you guys are talking, if you guys are even arguing because of jealousy, because of lack of understanding, because you're in 4-5D and they're still entrenched in 3D logic, that's still communication, and that's key to higher understanding. Twin flames, it's funny too, because I've talked to clients all over the world, and they'll say, oh yeah, I'm healed. I healed this, I healed that, or I thought I was healed, and bam, there came my twin, and it all fell apart. I thought I was healed over my sexual trauma. I thought I was healed over X, Y, and Z, and my twin just completely showed me that I was still entrenched in that trauma, that pain, that shame, whatever. Twin flames aren't going to harm you quite often purposely, okay? Some twins will actually push your buttons, and once they realize that it's pushing your buttons, they will actually do it purposely. And their soul, there's a higher level of wisdom involved in that, because if it pushes your buttons and it is your Achilles heel, right? You know that story of Achilles heel. If that's what's happening, your twin's job is to make sure that that's eradicated in this incarnation. Okay, so if you've been incarnating with your twin on planet Earth for the last, let's say, I'm just going to throw out a number, 20,000 years, right? On planet Earth and other planets, and you've been incarnating on other planets for, I don't know, millions and millions of years, right? Then there's certain things you never were able to let go. There's certain things you were never able to heal in many incarnations. So I'll give you an example. So it's 16th century France, and you're a nun, and you have massive shame for desire this stable boy who happens to be your twin, okay? And he's a stable boy, and there's this toggling between your duty as a nun, as a young nun, okay, being initiated and so forth. Maybe you came from a poor family. Maybe it was just something that you came from a rich family that just decided that they didn't want to give you a dowry, and it was just better to just give you away to the church. This shit happened a lot. And you're in love with this young stable boy, but you're fighting your sexual desire. And this stable boy is also enamored by you, completely in love with you. And it's a forbidden fruit situation. And it's a situation that is never going to be fulfilled, because your duty to the church, your duty as a nun, all of that is going to take over. You don't want to shame your family. You don't want to do any of that shit, right? And you are mentally shackled. Have you ever seen animals, the wild animals that are brought into, a veterinarian or a safe haven, and they're healed, and then whatever was broken, whatever is healed, and they bring the lion or the wild wolf or whatever back to their habitat, and they open the cage, and the animal won't leave the cage. They have to prod the animal out because it's been trained to feel trapped. Okay, there's an incredible story of the elephant, a baby elephant being tied to a chair, and then, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 years later, you can still tie the elephant to the chair. It psychologically thinks that the chair won't move. It doesn't realize its power. That's you. So that's that nun. That nun, at any point, I don't care if it was the 16th century, I don't care if it was the 9th century, she could have looked at that stable boy and said, you know what? Let's get the fuck out of here. Let's just go. I don't care. Let's just start a new life in another country. Let's go to Italy. Let's go to England. Let's go to Ireland. Anywhere. Let's lie. Let's say we're married already. Then let's get married. Whatever. But it was this psychological trap of this prison built on the environment and the way we were raised in many of our incarnations. So when your twin comes into your life in this particular century, 21st century, you might be still playing out this idea that you can't do X, Y, and Z to be with your twin because of these past, some scars, aka impressions. You may actually, without you knowing, play out these games. Why do I know this? Because I've seen people married to other people. I mean, you think it was the 1950s or something. They're unhappy in their marriage, and they're staying for the kids. Because, everyone thinks for some reason, and you've all been kids, so you guys know that as children, you knew when things weren't good with your parents. So I don't know why people still play that one, but okay. But again, there's this idea that I have to stay married. I have to stay married even though I know this marriage has long been dead. Quite often a twin will come into a situation where at a time when the person is still holding on to a marriage that died years ago, and the twin walks in and kicks the hornet's nest, and the other twin in that toxic or failing or dead marriage, whatever the hell the situation is, now has to face the truth that their marriage is shit. Because suddenly now they're alive. They desire, they have dreams, they connect with their twin, and the twin wakes them up from the root chakra all the way up to the crown chakra. It's literally a decalcification all through the chakras. Because what happens when people are married to people who they don't want to be married to anymore, you can still love your husband or wife, but in a sibling way, you see, in a celibate way, sibling way, meaning you still love him. In some cases, that's the truth. In some cases, you don't even like them. You don't feel safe with them. And yet you stay. Why do you stay? You're playing out things from the 18th century, 243 BC, AD, pick a fucking date. You're playing something out again. And so when you're afraid to get out of your cage, and you're afraid to shake shit up, and you're afraid to disappoint your family, your friends, your this, your that, even your kids, right? You have to ask yourself, if your twin was gone, because I've had these situations, and quite often what happens is the scenario happens where they meet their twin, they're married to someone else, and then the twin just leaves. It's time to leave. Why? Because you're not supposed to leave for your twin. You should have left that marriage a long ass time ago. The twin was the catalyst. The question I ask my client is, if your twin was nowhere to be seen, okay, and you were awake as you are now, would you leave your husband or wife to nothing? In other words, to an unknown future? And you know that I'd say 75% of my clients said, yeah, I would leave. Then why aren't you? Well, because, I want to leave. I want to wait till my twin, we get together, and they're, so that you see how they're looping? They're looping. It's a loop. It's not about your twin and being in union with, it's about leaving a marriage that no longer makes you happy. It's about being honest about it. It's about your kids seeing your situation and you showing and telling your kids that you love your husband or wife and that you're going to try to work this out. Don't treat kids like they're stupid. In fact, many of the kids being born in the last 20 years, 24 years, are a lot smarter than we were ever as kids. They know what you won't admit to. In fact, your kids probably know their marriage is over before you even accept it mentally. So there's a lot involved here. And what I'm talking about is very, very triggering. Don't think I don't know that. Let me see here. Oh, thank you, Angela, for sharing the live. I appreciate that. I forgot to share it myself. But anyway, yeah, if you want to share the live, share the live. I think it's not a bad idea. So one of my videos that went viral was When You Love Someone Else. I forgot the title of it, actually, but it was about third party. And I'm going to tell you something that's really interesting. And I've repeated that story before, but it bears me repeating it again. So I had a client last year, early in May of last year, who came to me who was happily married to high-level soulmate, happily beautiful couple, gorgeous couple, rich, everything you could imagine. And she met her twin who was totally fucked up, a vet from... I think the Afghan war, Iraq and Afghan, he was messed up. He was on pills and not the good kind and not for the right reasons. Let's put it that way. And he was battling PTSD, as you can imagine. And for whatever reason, she had never cheated on her husband. Never had to. He's an incredible lover, still to this day. And they had sex. She was like in shock. She couldn't believe they had sex. And so when we did the session, when we did the reading, she asked me, she said, I don't understand. Why would I have sex with, and she was totally enamored of the sexual connection. And she was like, okay, well, she became obsessed with her twin, even though he was definitely not her match frequency-wise at all. Her husband was. So her high-level soulmate husband said to her, look, I love you. I wish I could find another woman. I wish I could be with the other women, but I can't. I only want you. So go meet your person in Texas and do what you got to do. And then if I lose you, I lose you. And if you come back, fantastic. And he literally let her go. So right there, that tells you there was a soul contract with all three. And that tells you also that her high-level soulmate was a very, very highly evolved soulmate, okay? Highly evolved, spiritually understanding, and was not calling her names or treating her like shit. So she went back to Texas and made love, had sex with her twin, and it was shit. It was absolute shit. She couldn't believe. She was like, I don't understand what happened. And I said to her, because the first time you guys got together, the explosive moment of desire and this root chakra activation was to activate him. You don't need activation. You're fine. He needed activation. Now the universe has shown you, has shut down a valve in you, right? There's like a little switch button that you had already decided that would happen before you even took this incarnation, but you knew the meeting was going to happen. This was agreed upon. You knew this was going to be activated on the root chakra. Why root chakra? Why through the sexual chakra? Because he was dealing with PTSD. He was dealing with trauma. He was dealing with shame. He was dealing with regret. He just come out of Afghanistan and Iraq. Do you get what I'm saying? So he was fucked up, and God knows the other traumas he might have had before he even joined the armed forces. Okay, that's on a side note. So she goes back to her husband and she goes, I'm back and I'm not leaving you ever again. And she says, so what do I do with my twin? I said to her, well, you can send him books, you can send him tapes, but you're not going to, and I did a reading for her. And I said, what I'm seeing is I don't see you being with him ever for the next 20 years. You will not be in union. And she said, well, what happens to my husband? And I paused, silence. She didn't know what I was pausing for. And I said, people die. She went, oh my God. Yep. Yeah, people die. So by the time that beautiful connection with your high level soulmate has completed its, its contract, its experience, it's this beautiful connection that you have with this beautiful man who adores you, who makes love to you, who gives you everything you can imagine in the material world and spiritual world, in the physical world, right? Sensual world. Your twin hopefully will be awakened to be ready to take you on. And you'll probably be in your 50s. Yeah, that shit happens. It happens just like that. And I said, do you have any regret? I mean, you love oh my God, I love my husband. It's all perfection. There's no way. He's the perfect man. And I was like, well, there's your answer. Because you will not be attracted to your twin that way again until a 20-year timeline has completed its cycle, because it'll take that long for your twin to wake up. Why? Because he's got kids, a toxic marriage. They will be grown. He'll go through the teenage years. He'll probably get activated by his kids and their own rebellious nature, which will activate memories that he probably has suppressed about his own way he was raised. All kinds of shit needs to happen. And you can't be part of it. It's that simple. And she accepted that. And she has a very beautiful, the kind of marriage many of us would, many of you would envy, actually. So that's an example of what happens when you guys are in separation and why you're in separation, the reasoning behind it. Now, it may piss you off and go, well, we're all supposed to be in union. We're all supposed, that's it. Yeah, it'd be nice. But the world isn't holding its breath on the egoic problem of certain twin flames that have such fuckery to heal that they're relying on you as a twin flame to be in union, to be blunt. It's 144,000 twin flames at any given time. A twin flame dies, another couple comes back into union. A twin flame separates, another couple have just met. A couple separates again, another couple comes back into union, and it goes on and on and on. 144,000 at any given moment, at any given breath. What the problem is that many of you guys as twin flames aren't getting is that once you've gone through the basics, which is your first meeting, the nectar of being together as lovers, right? The kiss and the sexual union. The first separation is going to really hurt like hell. The second might be the dark night of the soul. It might be for you the first or the second separation, right? And then at that point, the separation is quite often based on what? Again, remember, we're talking about twin flames here, not twin rays. Don't get those mixed up at all. What is usually the separation? It's usually the ego of this individual twin, or both of you are entrenched in your egos, right? And you're refusing to be transcendental in how you're approaching each other, which twin rays do without any problems. Twin flames have a big problem in approaching each other on a transcendental level. There are twin rays that are in union, that are not in physical, what you would call physical union. I mean, they're not living under the same roof. There's just stuff to do. And both of them are going through an awakening. And you can't, some of you can't be a part of that. Their own awakening has to happen. Your own awakening has to happen separately from your twin because of the distraction and the nectar. Let's be honest, the nectar of being with your twin is unsurpassed. I remember when I'm in union with my twin right now, and it's bittersweet on many levels, and some of you know why. But I remember when we were in union, when I was, what a beautiful example. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, my love. Our pace of awareness and spiritual evolution rarely happen on the same timeline as twins, exactly. Because the twin flame connection was way too strong for me. I didn't have any catalyst. Yeah, but that you don't need a catalyst, okay? I met my twin first, then I met my high-level soulmate, who I married and had a child with, and that's how. Please don't think everyone has a catalyst. That's just such bullshit. I can't even believe it. Some of you will have a catalyst. Some of you will never need a catalyst. Some of you will literally be married to a low-level soulmate, high-level soulmate. Shit, some of you not even a soulmate. It'll be like, okay, like a straight line of energy. It's nothing. But some of you are very lucky to be with high level soulmates, and I think that's wonderful. And you're very lucky. Many of you know you're blessed to have that beautiful companionship, that's both a best friend, a lover, and so forth. So any questions on that? What was I going to say on that? I wanted to share something with you about hang on, about a client, because I love sharing stories on certain clients, because it helps you guys like visualize realities. One of my clients, the twin flame was massively addicted. Okay, massively. We're talking about every drug you can think. If it was a drug, legal or illegal, he took it. Okay, unfortunately, it was a masculine in this case. It happens to women too, but in this case, it was a masculine, and it was just, she couldn't, because he was sloppy with her. The way he treated her was sloppy. He had lovers. He was polyamorous. Pretty much all the shit she didn't want. Okay. And she decided that she didn't want to be in union with him in this incarnation. He would have to do a 180 for her to say yes to that incarnation. But what it did is that propel her to the spiritual path that she took. She realized that I can't be with my twin in this incarnation. He will never change. He will always party. He will always do ecstasy. He will always be polyamorous. I just can't be with that person. So rather than her doing what a lot of people do, which is sad to me, is saying, well, I can't do shit. If I can't be in you with my twin, then I'm out. I'm just not going to do anything spiritually. I'm not going to be a leader. I'm not going to be a spiritual influencer, content creator. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm not going to write books. I'm not going to teach yoga. I'm just not going to do shit. That's sad, because you're bearing your beautiful power and energy alive. And you need to be in this transcendental state of giving, which is, if I can't be in union with my twin, I sure in the fuck am going to do everything I can to help others come into union with their twin. That should be your attitude. And if that's your attitude, I can guarantee your twin flame on your way to being a twin ray within either this incarnation, or you'll be stepping into that role as a twin ray soon. And your twin that is acting all crazy in this particular character, meaning personality that they've chosen to incarnate in, right? Remember, it's a veil, it's a mask, it's not real. Do you understand that? We're playing roles here. I'm playing my role as the person that I present right now as I'm talking to you. It's a persona. There's an essence of my soul that'll always be this, right? But the persona I put out, the way I speak, the way I do X, Y, and Z, right? It's a role. It's a persona. It's an act. We're all actors. So when that falls away with your twin, who's completely done just so much shit to you, that you chose you and you chose your mission above all else. You went, well, fuck it. If I can't be with my twin, I sure in the hell I'm going to help the collective, right? If that's your attitude. I can guarantee that if it's not in this incarnation, it's going to happen in the next incarnation, because your twin might turn around to you on the other side when you guys drop your body and go, you kicked ass. Yeah, I mean, I was polyamorous, I was this, I was that, but you fucking kicked ass. You still went to your mission, and Yeah, we're on our way, baby. We're getting the fruits of our labor. And you'll look at him going, wait, hang on. This was all a game. It was all a game. It was all a game because it was the only way for me to push you to either choose you or choose nothing. See, when you don't step into your mission, you're choosing nothing. I have a guy who's a twin flame, amazing man, just amazingly talented, a tantrika, spiritualist, healer, Reiki master, horse whisperer, fucking just amazing, good looking. And his twin is definitely a 3D masculine. I'm going to be straight up. She's in a woman's body, but she is the man, the runner, and in a masculine way. She is 3D. She doesn't believe. Then she believes. Then she runs. Then she's ensconced herself in some Jehovah Witness type of thing or whatever. And he said to me many, many times, I can't be in mission without her. I can't be in mission without her. And he has massive knowledge that could help so many masculines. I can't tell you how many masculines with what he knows he could do. But his desire to be in union with his twin outshines his desire to share, I'm only going to use this once, his gifts with the collective. And that's a tragedy. And when he drops his body, it's not a curse. I'm not judging him, but I'm going to tell you the reality. He's going to look back on this incarnation and go, what the fuck was I thinking? What was wrong with me? All of this was an illusion. It was a game. And I fell for it. I decided that without her, I couldn't breathe. Your twin is going to drop their body at some point. You realize that, right? If you can't be on your mission, knowing that your twin can't match your frequency, meaning your step, your gait, right? Your walk, they can't walk beside you, then you better keep walking because they will rubber band to you at some point in this life or the next. This is not what you think ultimately. But what I will say to you is this, and I want you to close your eyes and think about what I'm about to give you. If your twin is you and you share a higher self, right? And they're in one body, a masculine body or same gender body, it doesn't matter to me, a body, and you're in this other body, right? But your soul split to have these human experiences in these two different bodies or starseed experiences on different planets as different beings, right? You do realize that whatever you do really impacts your twin. You get that, right? It's like twins in a woman's womb. Whatever she eats, whatever she drinks, these twins in her womb get fed the same information. You get that, right? So if you're tapping in, so think of the mother as your higher self that you share with your twin. So what you feed you literally feeds your twin. So if you're feeding yourself despair and lack consciousness and a sense that only this life exists, do you realize how funny it is? I know you've heard the analogy that every grain of sand is one incarnation. Can you imagine? Just sit on the beach one day. Just look at, try to count the grains of sand. That's how many incarnations you've had. I know it feels important, this one. And in some sense it is. It's probably, I don't know, one of the most important ones. Because this is a time where we're all awakening. And this is a time for you to actually right all the wrongs, the fuckery and the betrayal to yourself. This analogy I gave you of the nun deciding to stay in the nunnery instead of being bold and saying, you know what, stable boy, twin flame of mine, let's get the fuck out of here. Let's go to Italy. They don't know anything. We could change our names, change our story. It's all good. People did it all the time. But it's this idea of caging yourself, And so don't cage yourself with thinking that only you need to be with your twin to be in union. And the irony is that quite often, not always, okay, I'm not going to lie to you, and so I'm not here to sell you a fairy tale here, okay? Quite often, though, when you decide to step into your mission, the twin suddenly starts doing a 180. And the union could last a year, it could last 10 years, it could last until death do you part. We never know what our expiration dates are, do we? It's quite shocking, right? When somebody we love dies. But it could be that you get the final nectar before both of you drop the illusions of being called Jane and Mary and John and George, right? And suddenly you finally see each other for who you are. You truly, truly are. And taking on the vestment of whatever you want to show each other, right? It's when you start understanding how to accept transcendental thinking, once you stop gaslighting yourself on past lives on other planets, because I know some of you have had those downloads and you've rejected them as impossible. So apparently it's possible for me to have them and other people to remember them, and we're writing books on this shit, but it's not possible for you. You see what I'm saying? So only other people are extraordinary, but you're not. It's not so extraordinary. It's very common. It's a lot more common than you think. So once you start not gaslighting yourself on your downloads, experiences, past life flashbacks, things of that nature, you'll be able to actually get more clarity on those downloads. It'll just come easily. It's not complicated. It really isn't. It's what's complicating is that they're showing me Knight of Wands. In Tarot, Knight of Wands is a fire energy, but it's really more of a wishy-washy energy, a player energy, a not really deciding that this is a fact, going back and forth and back and forth. That's problematic, right? And so they're showing me that energy. So try to, believe in yourself. Don't let your twin circumstance dictate your gifts and goals to be shared and evolves. Absolutely. And then Michelle, what did you say? Thank you, Canary. Create that life you always desired, even if you can't be with your twin. Exactly. Why not? Why not? In this incarnation, it's very possible that once you decide, you decide, well, you know what, I'm just not going to wait for him or her. I'm just going to go ahead and write that book, go to that country. There are people who literally won't leave the town they live in because their twin lives in that town, because they're afraid they're going to miss something. It's like a little 4-year-old that doesn't want to go to bed. It's Christmas Eve, doesn't want to go to bed because they might miss something. Miss what? The parents putting the gifts under the tree? So it's all, there's so many illusions. They're layered illusions. And so one of the illusions that's quite dangerous, especially if you're a twin, is the fact that you're going to miss out. You don't trust the universe, divine timing, nor your soul contract with your twin or yourself. So there are people who are literally giving up opportunities, scholarships, or a free ride to Oxford for like a year or whatever it is, or living in another country or another state, or doing a writer's program, whatever. I don't care what it is. And literally not doing it because their twin lives in the same town or the same state, and they're afraid that they're going to, because they won't be physically in that place, that they're going to miss out on an opportunity to see their twin, be in union with their twin. That's not how it works. You don't have to worry. The universe doesn't work that way. The universe says, listen, we know you're sad. We know it's fucked up. Here's a scholarship to a writer's program in, I don't know, I'll make it up, in Italy, in Tuscany. And it's all paid for. And there are people who will literally say, no, I can't, because my twin lives in Idaho. I can't. That's insane. When the universe shows you a way that is extraordinary, a pathway, you better take it, because the universe is saying there are divine appointments you have. And they happen to be with your professor, with people you'll meet in Tuscany, people you'll meet on the plane to Italy, people you'll meet on trains to other parts of Europe. You have divine appointments, divine inspiration, divine learning of yourself. All of this is there. Meanwhile, guess what? Your twin finds out that you're gone, out of the country, doing this, that, and the other, and probably seeing it on your social media, but because you're going to probably share some of it, if not all of it. It's going to make them think again how easy it is for them to lose you. That's not manipulation. That's just reality. It's just reality. But they will also realize with a pang that they miss you, even seeing you driving by, even if you're not talking, but seeing you. What's interesting about twin flames is that what you feel for your twin, they feel for you. But the difference in a runner is that the runner twin will deny what they feel for you violently with everything they got. When you break up with someone that is just someone on the streets, a pedestrian soul connection, whatever, or some kind of karmic contract you have, you're not going to feel that way. When you are hell-bent on deluding yourself that this person is nothing to you, okay? Runner twins usually do that. I know that because I was a runner twin for years. It's because of the fear. Because once you open that door, you can't fucking close that door. You see? And it's a lot easier to love someone who you care about. Like, it's intimate, but it's not gonna destroy you if that person doesn't live. It's not gonna destroy you if that person asks for a divorce. When you have a connection with a twin flame, if something happens to them and you can't be with them, it does throw people to a level of almost destroy. They're destroyed. They're destroyed. That's why the dark night of the soul, there's levels to the dark night of the soul. So you get destroyed. You get ground to dust, absolute dust. There's nothing fucking left of what you were before your twin. And then what rises out of the ashes is something brand fucking new. It's unrecognizable. And during that transition and transformation, you'll find that you lose a lot of people in your life. People that you held on to like a hoarder, have it. Instead of holding on to somebody who really you should hold on to, like a really good friend, and you're both amazing for each other. You support each other. You basically are the friend that'll say, no, you look like shit in that dress, but that red dress, you look like a goddess. That friend, that kind of friend that'll tell you the truth, even though you don't want to hear it, and will also give you solutions so that there's always a solution that's positive so that you win. Yeah, there are people you should fight for, but with your twin flame, you don't have to worry. When it's time for you to get back into union, you will. And no one on the planet will be able to stop it. I'm not joking. Recently, hang on, I'm trying to remember. There was another, I have so many clients, I'm trying to remember something that would, oh yeah. So this is the funny one. This is an amazing one. So this woman lives up in Connecticut, and she, in a small town apparently, and she left her twin because he had cheated on her. They were in their late 20s, early 30s. And this small town, when she broke up with him, she did not see him physically, I'm not joking, for damn near 25 years. So now they're in their early 50s, right? Very good looking, both of them very good looking. They've kept up, and suddenly she meets somebody else, right? And she's been in a bad marriage, she has a beautiful child, and she finally divorces and all of that, and still hasn't met her twin, hasn't seen her twin in that little town of, I'm going to say, let's just say 6,000 people, okay, a small town. And she's obsessed with this other man who won't call her back. And I asked her, if you really had to choose between this guy and that guy, no, I would choose Bob. Bob is her twin. So basically, Daniel is in your thing. Nah, well, he's good looking, blah, blah, but no. But if I had to choose, it'd be Bob. Okay. So I said to her, well, here's the thing. You got to let go of Daniel, completely let go of Daniel, let it go. And Bob will come within a week. I'm not joking. The minute she let go of this Daniel character who was ghosting her and checking around the internet and yet wouldn't return her calls, just some weird ass shit. He was just being a creep, right? Bob came in, they bumped into each other, and they bump into each other constantly. The problem with her twin is that he drinks too much, he's rich, and she's the love of his life, and he's terrified of letting him be vulnerable because, you see, when he cheated, she left him. So he still has those abandonment wounds that she caused, but that he caused by cheating on her. What did he expect? And there's a part of her that regrets leaving. But what could she do? She could not share him with other people. So they're at an impasse. They're twin flames. And it may not happen for them in this incarnation because he's so addicted to his alcohol, right? That he's constantly softening the edges. He's never fully sober, and he can't really go deep in the weeds to really feel what he feels for her in comparison to other women. He just can't get in touch with himself, emotionally speaking. And because of that, he's only acting on fear, because if she left him ever again, it would destroy him again. So it's easier to be with women. He doesn't really, it's affectionate, it's intimate, it's fun, it's whatever. But if they leave him, it won't destroy him. Whereas if she ever left him again, right, it would destroy him. Not to mention, he can't guarantee he can be monogamous. That's the truth. And part of the reason why he can't guarantee is he hasn't done the work on being sober. Does that make sense? It's one thing to have a drink here and there. It's another to need drinks every single day to just function. Okay, there are people that literally, they start at 11 and it ends when they black out. Okay, so that's not exactly good, right? So the universe is not going to let her doing all this work spiritually to be with someone like that. They don't care if it's her twin. And that's where she has to, again, choose herself. Does that make sense? So what do I tell these clients when I talk to them? I say, well, have you sent him a book, an Audible book, so you can listen to his books on this? Have you sent him a 3-minute tape on a guided meditation from Dr. Joe Dispenza? Have you sent him anything about the monkey mind, the cause of addiction? Usually when people are addicted, especially men, I'm going to just be straight up, when men are to that level of addiction, they're running from something from their childhood, massive trauma from their childhood. You don't have a beautiful childhood and suddenly become an addict. That's not how it works at all. It's not how it works at all. So it's kind of good to kind of, seed your twin. It's very important for you to seed your twin. And trauma like that is quite often ignored by men, because men, your average man, average meaning, average good man, doesn't want to feel. Because to feel is like opening a Pandora's box. It may never stop rolling out of them. And they don't understand that the first week or two of excavation will feel like it will never end, but it always ends. Good things and bad things end. Everything's impermanent in this incarnation that we have on this planet, right? So there's nothing to worry about. What I worry about with the masculine is them insisting on softening the edges, and seeking not feeling. That's scary. Because your twin entrenched in 3D is having that experience. And they call that being logical. And they use all kinds of fabulous terms. Stoic. They use all kinds of wonderful, realistic, terms that make them feel like they're making the right choices instead of feeling their heart chakra. They don't want to feel their heart chakra. See, it has to start there. And why would the universe take you, who's doing all this incredible excavation, looking at your shadows, pulling it all the veils down, rolling in the mud of grief, and then coming out of it cleansed and purified, and going higher and higher on your ascension path? Why would the universe allow you to come to a connection with a twin who insists and is hell-bent on annihilating their consciousness, their ability to grow spiritually, physically, emotionally, all the fucking ways you can imagine? Why would the universe do that to you in your progress? And what happens quite often, sadly too often, is that some twins that are going through their ascension will decide to say they'll do a spiritual lobotomy on themselves. They'll choose not to feel as well. And that's not going to help you in union in any incarnation. It definitely has stopped you from progressing in this one, and it will stop your progress in the next one, because when you go into the next one, you'll be back in 3D playing the same bullshit, and hopefully maybe you'll wake up at some point and stay awake. And it could be that your nectar is given to you 2, 3, 4 months before one of you drops your bodies. That's a reality. Okay? The fact that people in the twin flame community are constantly wasting time and listening to content creators saying, oh yeah, block them. Oh yeah, you probably just need a break from each other. A break. I've had twin flames who lived under the same roof telling me, oh well, we're just gonna move out from each other. We're just gonna get different apartments and just see how things are gonna go. See how the minute you open, see, portals open and portals close. When a portal opens and you're given free will to leave your twin, to literally move out of the house with your twin, and there's nothing happening except you're arguing. You're arguing about stupid shit. Let's be honest. And you're arguing over things that should be very easy for any human being to understand. You know, you gotta, and to understand somebody else's pain is to be empathic. And to say, I don't understand, but I want to understand. But the egoic frameworks of couples is always about this I want to be right and you're wrong. And instead of saying, I don't, I love you, I want to understand you. What the fuck's going on? I'm trying, it's like there's a glitch in my head. Is there any way you could explain it to me a different way? That is true love. But the problem is people decide that it's time to pack your shit and go to different apartments. When you do that with a twin flame, I will warn you, the portals would open where you will walk out of each other's physical lives, right? The portals will close and it'll be years before you're ever put in a situation to move in and be together under the same roof again. Years. Mark my word, there'll be all kinds of weird shit going on. You'll be like, I don't understand how could this happen? It'll be an argument that has you in silence for months. It'll be a rumor told by some quote unquote well-meaning friend that they're seeing someone else, and you'll believe it instead of finding out on your own. Things like that will keep you separated for years. All kinds of fuckery. So if you're living with your twin, work shit out. Just work it out. I'm not kidding. You want separate bedrooms, okay, but don't have separate houses. That's a bad idea. And when the separation must happen, there will be things the universe will put into place where you will have a choice between doing this or that. And the separation will occur if your twin or you don't rise to the occasion of a choice, of what I call a crossroad moment. At that point, that'll be it. You'll be, whoa, hang on, what's happening? And you'll be in separation, and there'll be nothing you can do about it. Yeah, does that make sense? Let me see here. Thank you for these messages. Oh, you're welcome. Just saw you were live. So glad to be here. Me too, Laura Lee. It's good to see you. It's always good to see you. Thank you. Sending you all love and light blessings. Thank you. That's very sweet. I love your emojis. They're great. So any questions or comments about the twin flame journey and the missteps people make? So never block your twin unless he is a complete or she is a complete malignant narcissist or sociopath. And even sociopath, that's another show. Malignant narcissists, there are very few malignant, okay? Malignant means there's nothing in there, okay? Something got massively lobotomized in their brains, okay? Something just glitched off because of the massive trauma. It takes a lot of trauma for someone to become a malignant narcissist. And if you know anything about their family history, you should know whether or not, in terms of narcissism, there's levels, right? And some can actually heal. I'm not joking. And Sam Vakin talked about how he has I've talked about it before, by the way. He talked about cold therapy. He calls it cold therapy. And he said that because the trauma happened to a child, or the child, right, that you can't use adult therapy techniques for childhood trauma. The man's fucking brilliant. He's got 3 PhDs. And it makes absolute sense to me. Trauma that would create a narcissist Because in a family where this could happen, you're going to either come out empathic, right? I hope you know that. Or you're going to come out narcissistic, right? Or both. I kid you not. And so let's say you have a beloved who's both empathic, meaning they're psychic, they've got these gifts. Again, I'm going to use that word. And yet they're narcissistic. Well, the narcissism was a default button to keep them safe from being traumatized again. So in a way, their little boy or little girl is either in the attic or in the basement locked away. So your job is to talk about your little girl or little boy energy, what you do with them. I remember when my twin and I would have fights, right? And there were always stupid ass fights, and they were always based on pride and silence and all kinds of just crap. Both learned from, he learned his shit from his parents. I learned my shit from mine. But anyway, I would send my little girl to his little boy. And I would ask her, find out if he's in a good mood or find out if he's willing to play with you. And when we had fights, 50% of the time, he would push her away. The other 50% of the time, he hugged her or cried. She could see him crying. And at that point, if I saw an opening of his heart, instead of letting the fight simmer in silence, I would go and, cajole him out of his mood. And within 10, 15 minutes, not even, the sunshine would come back into our connection. And we would apologize and kiss each other fiercely and hold each other in bed and just tightly hold each other. But I used this method of sending my little girl to his little boy to tap into the energy to see, is this good? And if she was rejected, I'd leave him alone for the whole day. I'd leave him alone into the next day, and then he would come to me. It's interesting because it fucking works. So I've learned so much from you, Tony. Thank you. Oh, you're so sweet. Yes, see. Yeah. God bless you. Yes, see. God bless you. Sending you so much love. So much love. I chased for 3 years, stopped and got over it. She reappears and then I reject her. It's your pride that's rejecting her. It has nothing to do with, it's your pride. And you've been listening to a lot of people telling you should reject her, instead of realizing that, asking her, why are you back? How can I help you? What's going on? How have you been? What have you been doing spiritually? How are you feeling? Sorry, you're going to hear a loud noise. It's from the laundry room. But does that make sense? And because many of you have been listening to a lot of content creators that actually regurgitate a lot of shit I learned back in 2014, the good stuff they're regurgitating from the great content creators that some of them have passed away since then. And some of it, they're still alive. They're still doing their work, And then the other crap is from narcissistic coaches, which don't confuse twin flames and narcissistic coaches. But, the concept of ghosting, the concept of blocking, no contact, ray rocking, those are all narcissistic terms. And yet these twin flame coaches, and it pisses me off, these twin flame coaches teach that shit. They've bundled up every YouTube video they've watched and come up with methods of how to control behavior and how to punish behavior. And let me tell you something, ghosting this is known. Look it up. Ghosting, it's one of the most psychologically damaging thing you can do to another human being. Just think of it. Just close your eyes. Think about it. So you're ghosting your little 7-year-old boy or your 12-year-old daughter. In other words, you're acting like they're not there. You're not responding to them at all. So if you wouldn't do that to a child, and we all have inner children in us, right? We all have the inner child. Then why would we do it to a grown adult we claim we love and we claim is our twin flame? What kind of bullshit is that? That's fucking not cool. You were never asked to chase anyone. You were asked to educate your twin. Chasing is you trying to prove to someone that you're worthy of their love, to see you, to choose you. You don't chase your twin. You educate your twin. And the education could last 3 years where all you do is hang-ups and a text that said, well, here's a link. Hopefully you'll check it out. Here's a book. I'm sending you a book for your birthday. And it's a fucking book that's not bullshit. It's a real book about learning about the ego, learning about healing, pain. Like, for example, if you read, and there are certain books that are just so incredible and so important to the collective human experience. One of them is The Untethered Soul. I bring up that book constantly. I first got turned on by that book from my twin. He sent me that book, and he had notes all over it. And I read that book and put all my notes all over it and sent it back to him so he could see my notes. That's how we were communicating in the beginning in 2013, 14. That book, I've read it at least 10, 15 times, reading it and listening to it. That is one of the most important books, because that's going to put you in alignment with the reality of the soul and the ego and the fuckery of the ego if you allow it to continue run your life. So when you say you were chasing, which we have all done it too. I was the runner and I was also the chaser. So I get you, I get it. But at some point you'll stop, you'll go, wait, hang on. What is the content of this conversation I'm about to have with my twin? What is the purpose of us communicating right now? When you really ask yourself, how should I speak to my twin today? You better know what you're going to talk about, because if it's all about accusations and what did you do and why didn't you choose me and why did you ghost me, all that, you're going to repeat that same shit again and again and again. You're wasting time, and you're wasting a really good phone call or a good letter. When you send letters to your twin, like I have a particular masculine who has sent 3 different messages, beautiful letters. Like this man's amazing. He totally sent her a letter about his love for her. Then he sent a second letter about other things, right? And then he did a third thing, which I'm not going to discuss here. And he said, well, what should I do? I said, nothing. The ball's in her fucking court. And he went, well, what's going to happen? I go, she needs to wake the fuck up, because any human being at that point, any good human being who made love to a lover from head to toe and got those kinds of messages and letters would have at least picked up the phone, would have had the decency, not to be a coward, to pick up the goddamn phone and go, look, I know we have a soul connection, but I don't know what I'm doing right now. I don't think I'm ready for us to be together. I honestly, I'll tell you what, give me a year and I'll see where I'm at. Or I don't want to be with you anymore. Thank you for the letters. I'm really sorry you're going through that kind of pain, but I don't want to be with you anymore. It's over. A person with integrity would respond to those messages in either way I just illustrated. Okay? You take a deep breath. You align yourself with what these letters are by a lover who's chasing you, and you pick up the fucking phone with integrity, with respect, with honor, with empathy, and you tell him where it's at. No, not now, maybe in a year. No, not ever. I'm done. Not in this lifetime. Does that make sense? So the thing with my twin, when he was chasing me, I knew that I couldn't say any more to him than I had said. And I couldn't respond because I was a coward. It's not like I don't know what I'm talking about, because I know exactly I was a coward, because I didn't want to open that door, because I thought if I open that door, he's going to fucking come right in and take over, because he's that kind of man. He's an alpha male. And I wasn't going to have it. I had shit to do. I had an 8-year-old to raise. I had shit to do. In my case, I wasn't running because I didn't love him. I was running because I had shit to do with my child. And my child was my priority. That was my soul contract with my kid. And I don't regret it. Does that make sense? So there are multiple reasons why people chase, run. You know, you never know. But, you know, when it was time for me to call it a day, I did. And the age of my son was the right age, 14. And it was fantastic. It was time. So our soulmates lessons, every connection with any soul is a lesson. Every soul. Your fucking dog is teaching you shit. Your cat's teaching you shit. Your high-level soulmate is teaching you shit. As I say this, it's 1:11 a.m. 1:11, so 111. Remember, I started this with 12:12. Now it's 111. Anyway, yeah. The book that I was referring to is called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Probably one of, if not one of the most important books ever written. I used to call it, I still do, the Bible, the book, it's a Bible for the soul. So the most, and then after that you would read the Surrender Experiment. Read that first and then read the Surrender Experiment. The Surrender Experiment, I refer all my clients, the feminine clients, to send that to their high-level twin who are 3D twins. You know, twins or high-level soulmates who are 3D, entrenched in the whole money, power, game on, you know, all that shit. Yeah, I give them that book for them. And men, well, I love that book. I've read it like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 times, like on Audible. But men love that book because it speaks to what they've been taught through the patriarchy and the matriarchy. So that's an incredible book. So Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul, and then read The Surrender Experiment. And I believe he actually narrates The Surrender Experiment. I believe, yeah. Incredible book. And it takes off from where Eckhart Tolle started with The Power of Now, the introduction. He was 29, I believe. And he's sitting in a room. It's dark. I think it's early morning, if I remember. It's been a year since I read that book. That's like 20 years ago. But in that book, he says, I realized there was the me and the now. The me and the I. The me and the I. And it was this concept of realizing that he was witnessing himself, witnessing his thoughts. Yeah, that's interesting. Calmly witnessing these actions. And that's when he realized that there were two entities, the ego and the soul, right? Yeah. So he takes that premise, which he realized himself, because this is a massive meditator. He totally believes in meditation. The whole reason why he started doing what he was doing, you'll see when you read The Surrender Experiment, was because he was absolutely hell-bent on finding out why his mind wouldn't stop talking and chattering and how he could control that monkey mind. And so his whole incarnation, because he's in his 70s now, was built on surrendering and controlling the monkey mind through meditation. He doesn't mention chanting, but chanting is an incredible way to control your monkey mind, that's for sure. And the thing about it, the monkey mind is the thing that tells you not to do something, right? It says, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, you suck. Oh, they'll never accept you. They'll never forgive you. They don't love you anymore. They've moved on. The monkey mind is the entity that goes on Facebook or Instagram and sees your twin having a great old time with their new lover, and there's all these fucking pictures, and they must be in love. And as I've told many, many people, when I went into union with my twin, if you have ever looked and researched me, you'll see that there's not one fucking picture you'll ever find of me and my twin. Never. Not even of me and my husband. Very rarely will you find them. And why? Because when you're really, and I have tons of pictures, but when you're really having fun, you're not going to actually post pictures of you and your twin, or especially if you've left a marriage. You're not going to be that crass, that rude, that ridiculous. It's like shoving a shit pie in your ex's face or your children. You don't do that. That's very uncool. So when I see twins looking at their twins' pages and they seem to be so in love and everything's documented, every fucking step, every candle, every birthday, every 4th of July is on social media, my friends, that's called posing. That's not real. I agree. I keep our pictures private for us. Good morning. Good morning. Anyway, good morning. So that's going to be a clear indication that they're full of shit. Now, what's interesting is when I do readings for people, right? Like, I have a client who will check out her twin and she'll see all these pictures and then I'll throw the tarot cards, right? Psychic, tarot, I do both. And every time I see swords, I see all kinds of swords. I'm like, she'll say, well, is he making love to her? Is he doing this? Is he doing that? I'll throw the cards again. 0, flat. It's a flat line. And then I'll say, look, can you send me the pictures? Let me look at him. And I'll look at the wife and I'll look at him, her twin, and I'm seeing changes in the twin's physical appearance, meaning he's gained like 20, 30 pounds. That's big. That usually when people are in love, they look better. Twins usually make each other look better. If you were good looking, you're going to be gorgeous, that kind of thing. Anyway, and then I'll look at, in this case, the woman and that he's married to, and I'll say, let me ask you this. Do you see what I see? Well, what do you see? I see a woman who's not getting sex. I see somebody who's gray around her skin. She's not glowing. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. Does this look like a happy person? I mean, look, forget it's your twin. Just look at the damn picture. Where are their hips pointing? Do you see their hips pointing towards each other, or are their hips pointing the other direction? Their body languages. I remember seeing a picture of my husband's brother-in-law, okay? And it was his brother-in-law and his sister. And I looked at the picture and I went, oh, they're about to divorce. I'm not joking. He said, why did you say that? I go, because first of all, their hips are so far away from each other. It's ridiculous. Not to mention, he's barely holding on to her. It's almost like he doesn't even want, he's reluctantly putting his hand over her shoulder. His hip is completely pointed away from her, completely gone. They're fucking done. It turns out a year later, he was caught cheating. So, and their marriage fell apart, not because, it's a big story. One day I'll tell you, it doesn't matter. But the point is, you can tell through the body language. Or you might see the woman or man that they're married to, and their hips are pointing towards them, but their knee and hips is there's all kinds of weird shit you can look at in body language. It tells you a lot of what you might not notice, but you might start noticing it now that I've mentioned it, or you've already noticed it, but you gaslit yourself on what you saw. If the smile doesn't reach the eyes, do you understand? Then it's not real. If you know your twin like the back of your hand, which you should, and their eyes look like they're glassy, it's not real. And so anyway, I would throw cards. I still throw cards for her. And she'll say, well, what's going on here? And I say, well, they're still not doing what they're doing. And my job is not to lie. I'm not here to lie and entertain her. Because there was a point where there was a window when they first got married, where they were having a good time. It was happening, and I told her so. And I said, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but this is happening. It's for real. But when I throw cards in regards to how he feels about her, it's all wands, cups. It's all incredible emotions and passion. And also, he's afraid. 8 of Swords. He's afraid, prisoner of his own mind. 9 of Swords. He's not sleeping. 2 of Pentacles. He's trying to figure out what the fuck to do in the material world. He's juggling all kinds of shit. 5 of Wands, outside competition. My point is, you'll see all this energy coming through, and you'll realize that all this social media photos, all this posing shit, unless that's your business and you are a movie star, or you're I don't know, you're a model, or you're a writer, or you're trying to promote your shit, no one should. I'm not judging you if you're doing it, but to be honest with you, I'm always looking at going, why would they post all this shit about themselves? That should be private shit. People shouldn't have access to it, especially if your twin is having an affair with you. Unfortunately, what I mean, it's insane. It doesn't make sense, and it's putting everyone in a weird situation. But I can tell you that 9 times out of 10, it's bullshit. It really is. And it's sad too, because it really upsets people. They look at these pictures, or their well-meaning friend will go, I have access to his Facebook, I can send you the pictures. That's not loving. That's not kind. Private life, happy life. Exactly. Thank you. Private life, happy life. Right on. Right on. That's true. I had, you can look at some of my stuff, and if you can see pictures of my husband or my twin, it's either because there's one picture I didn't put under private, but I seriously doubt you'll ever find anything I have. I'm not kidding. If you find anything, it'll probably be of my son, which makes sense to me. So, but never that. And it wasn't because I wasn't proud of them. I am proud of them, but I'm not going to let anyone have some fucking ammo on people I care about. And I don't want them to find out about my private life. It's none of their business, right? It really isn't. You might see some pictures of me when I was 16, probably one or two, and that's about it. That's about it. I mean, it's like funny. So ask yourself why. Why so many pictures? And then ask yourself why this well-meaning friend would help you get those pictures. Why are they really a well-meaning friend, or are they enjoying your suffering? Like, be honest with yourself about shit. Don't second guess it. How does it feel when I said that? Were they there for you, or were they really kind of enjoying seeing your face fall, or hearing the drop in your voice? Be honest. Because kind, loving friends, unless you ask them point blank, listen, I can't access his Facebook or his Instagram. I want to see any updated pictures. And if you're in that consciousness, I'm not going to judge you, because every woman or man's gone through that kind of pain where they need to know. But try not to make a habit of that, because all you're doing is adding more suffering to yourself. You know what I'm saying? And at some point, you can't stop what's going to happen. You know, if they're meant to be with someone else for a little while, trust me, it's not going to last. As long as you're alive walking this planet, it won't last. The only time it can is when they're addicted to massive shit. At that point, they're not conscious. Does that make sense? They're not consciously aware. So that means they can't tap into spirituality. And even then, like, the universe will try to, like, access them through dreams, and they'll wake up with tears on their face, knowing that they dreamed about you, with, like, crying, like they're waking up crying, but they will gaslight themselves out of that too. Does that make sense? That's what happens. That's why it's so sad when a twin flame is addicted to shit, because you really have it's a long shot. I don't want people to know what I do unless it's an online business. Exactly. My connection with my twin is sacred and it should be protected. I agree with not sharing everything or anything, really. I mean, if you know anything about me, half of it I've told you again and again, pretty much the same story of how I met him, what happened. But in terms of the details, the nitty-gritty, no, I'm not. Now, will I write a book about this at this point in my life, starting next year? Yeah, probably. And it will be the whole ugly truth. Ugly, and the beauty and the ugliness, all of it. Because it's necessary. Because people have this weird idea that twin flames are twin rays, and that's just so wrong. Now, can you become a twin flame in the same incarnation and go from twin flame to twin ray as you shed your false ego and these false personalities, and you surrender to your soul's light, both yours and theirs, and nothing is so egregious to not love each other above all else? Yeah, that's twin flame energy. I mean, twin ray. And you can become that in one incarnation. You can go, well, it's kind of like going from preschool all the way to, a PhD, except it's spirituality. So it's totally possible. Don't think it's not possible. And it doesn't matter if it's if the twin ray consciousness happens a month before one of you drop your body, an hour before, or at the last breath. Because what happens is that all the false ego is completely shed away, and the full realization of what you guys are to each other is there. And then the body drops, the transformation happens. And if you're really open to this, your connection with your twin is now transformed. And now you're not twin flames anymore, you're twin rays. They're on the other side. They're waiting for you. Your mission is still upon you. You still have shit to do before you can join them, if you know what I'm saying. And that's not to say you're not going to have the human experience of grieving and crying your heart out. Does that make sense? So any other questions or comments? I'd love to hear your comments. What do you think? So I think, let me see, what time is it? 1:27. So, okay. Any other questions or comments? I will probably upload this one on YouTube, and hopefully you can check it out. I know that YouTube hates when I upload anything from TikTok lives to YouTube. They fuck with the videos. I'm being really honest with you. You may want to try it on different browsers, things like that. If I were you, though, at some point you may want to consider joining my Patreon, because I'm going to start moving my YouTube lives onto Vimeo, and then you'll have access to it if you guys want to follow me on Patreon. Thank you, Tony. It's good to see you, Nikki. I totally agree with you, Polly. Thank you. And there's so many massive changes going on at a very fast rate, at very fast speed. You could be actually going through massive challenges, a massive pain, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or things are collapsed beneath your feet, and yet you're still standing. There's going to be things that are at a breakneck speed because of the massive ascension codes that are being downloaded through your crown chakra. And you need to just take it with a grain of salt. This is not the end. This is a new beginning that is being shaken. It's just like rough winds through your incredible cellular system and your soul and your upgrades, your memories. Ask for upgrades of your crown chakra. Ask to be upgraded every day if you can. And what else can I tell you that's really helpful? 2025 is going to be a lot easier than the last 5 years have been. The shit show we've gone through, the 5 fucking years of absolute fear factors waged upon us, not to mention the awakening, the questioning, the veils falling, us seeing things for what they are, and now we twins are being attacked as new age, new age. What is it? Illusion. Can you imagine the balls? Can you imagine telling someone that remembers past lives on other planets with their twin that they've made it up as a new age fad? It's actually funny. Remember, new age. The term new age came from Blavatsky, Aleister Crowley. Those, how do I put it nicely? Because there's not a nice way to put it. Stay away from those supposed spiritualist occultists, because they're more satanic than you believe. Aleister Crowley had a thing for, he was a PEDO. You want to talk about Pizzagate? There's Aleister Crowley was known. He's known for that. So it can't be good, right? And if you look at the eyes of Blavatsky, would you trust her with your baby? I wouldn't. Just saying. Just use your common sense. Discernment is going to be everything. I don't care what people tell you in the spiritual community. Oh, Aleister Crowley's amazing. The Thoth tarot card. Oh no, Blavatsky's written all these books. No, don't believe what people try to sell you. Spiritual propaganda, political propaganda, it's all propaganda. You listen to what you feel. Does it feel right to you? Do you feel good? If the answer is no, then it's a no for you. And that's all you need to know. You don't need to explain it to anyone. You don't have to explain it to me. You don't explain it to anyone around you. If it's a no, it's a fucking no. It's a fuck no. Okay? Read the newer works of spiritualists. Okay? Because to be honest with you, I'm starting to realize as I speak to you now, actually I'm getting downloads right now, that a lot of the spiritualists in the last, 150 years ago and beyond, 200 years ago, were charlatans. They were charlatans. They had talent, don't get me wrong. They did have psychic talents. They had remote viewing talents, shit like that. And they used it to manipulate people to their own ends. Okay? And some of them became quite famous, like Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley. I'm trying to think of some other names, but I can't think of anyone right now. I know of Edgar Cayce, the blind prophet, they called him. I'm sure he was good for what he was doing at the time with clients that needed his healing and so forth. But I never bought into what he was saying about Egypt or a lot of things. He wasn't clear. Who was clear was Ruth Montgomery, Strangers Among Us, Ruth Montgomery. That's a writer that no one talks about. I don't know why. But she came out in the 60s and 70s, and she wrote some very important books. But some of these older people that are always being tooted around like they're the best, yeah, they're not. There was a lot of evil, weird, voodoo tata shit clinging to their frequency, if you get what I'm saying. So let me read what you guys have to say. Hang on, let me see this. Love you, sis. I love you, my little brother. You're amazing. Thank you. My twin is married. I rejected her because of that. What are the odds if there's a reunion? Well, the odds is that when your twin is married, and the question is she staying married because she loves her husband, which she could, but does she love her husband in all ways that she would love a twin, right? And so and also some of the veils that fall over a twin that is rejecting an advance of another twin. Again, don't forget, these married twins have a soul contract with everyone around them. And until these soul contracts are completed or broken, right, whichever is most important, sometimes they can be broken. They should be broken. Some soul contracts can't be broken because it's a soul contract with a child that needs their parent for a certain amount of years, or needs both parents under the roof for a certain amount of years, and then it expires. I'm just being very, blunt with you on that. So there's a lot of, things going on in married twins. Also, what's interesting about twins, when they're married to other people, they're so entrenched in duty, fear, which is big, and the fear is almost like, if I do this for me, it's almost like a duty based on, I love being with my twin so much, and yet I'm going to give everything up to be with my twin, so there's guilt. And if I do that, then how dare I feel such pleasure, because then my spouse will suffer, my children will suffer. So how dare I have this pleasure? Let me deny this pleasure so that I can be duty bound to my children. I mean, and my husband or wife or whatever the deal is, right? There's a lot of undercurrents of shit. And a lot of that has to be cleaned up. And if you're coming to the consciousness of thinking that because they're married, they'll always be married and it'll always be as it is, instead of realizing that every time you read something that's spiritually powerful, you should consciously think to yourself, let's call her Sarah. I'm reading this for Sarah. I'm reading this with Sarah. Remote healing is intention. So let's say you're reading a book that's going to change your life. Let's say you're reading The Untethered Soul. Then visualize, let's say her name is Sarah. Visualize Sarah hearing that same book. Visualize it. Intend it. Say she's reading this book right now as I read this book. You got a better chance of getting shit done where her brain, her soul is being upgraded, and God forbid you do the opposite, which is quit. Nothing will change. But if you actually intend, Sarah is reading this book as I read this book, she's reading this book, a friend could give her that book. She could find that book on a bench at the gym, and she could end up buying that book. Don't underestimate the telepathic communication that happens between you and your twin. Let me see here. There is no nice way to put it. Crawley was a Satanist. Yeah, no kidding. I agree. Eyes tell you everything. My mom is married to my dad, but I know the marriage has been over for years. Exactly. She wants me to move on her, but I can't cross the line. You gotta tell her. You gotta tell her straight up. If you were happily married, I wouldn't have a shot in hell. If she thinks you're her twin, let's assume she knows. Like, you haven't told her, I hope, but she knows. She's told you or whatever. Which honestly, I forget the label. Let's just say this. I would say to her, if your marriage was great, I wouldn't have a shot in hell. I wouldn't even be able to talk to you. You should. Have you told her that? Because that's the truth. So the marriage is over. It's just a matter of time. My marriage was ending when I met my twin. Divine timing. Exactly. The telepathy experience is like no other. It's like two satellites turned to similar frequencies. Beautifully put, Cosmic Canary. The telepathy experience is like no other. It's like two satellites tuned to similar frequencies. And yeah, the marriage, you were lucky, Jennifer. My marriage was ending when I met my twin. Divine timing. You were lucky. Some people don't end their marriage. They need that trigger. And the trigger is the twin. That's what happens. It's really interesting. Any other comments or questions or shares? Do you have anything to share? Yeah, it's pretty intense. Yeah, this whole twin. So when you approach your twin, right? When you are unable to pull the trigger, you won't cross that line. Good for you. It took me 5 years to end it out of fear and guilt. Exactly. It took me 5 years. Yeah, I could see that. It took me, it's unfair, but once I knew my marriage was over, it was like literally, I think I was 25 years into it. And then it was another few years. I stepped up to be an operator at one of my jobs because he was one to trigger this awakening. I stepped up to be an operator at one of my jobs because he was one to trigger this awakening. Huh. You'll have to expand on that. And I didn't know him. I gotcha. Well, I was telling his brother today that one of the books that got him into vegetarianism, my twin, he was 19 years old, and he saw a picture of Arnold Earhart. He's called. He's an incredible writer from the 1800s, and he was Swiss German. And Arnold Earhart had these amazing, large, light eyes, and he was blonde with a mustache and a beard. And he said he saw him at 19 and just became a vegetarian on the spot. He was like, and bought his book. Well, I'm 15 years younger than my twin. I bought the book at 17 and a half, and I became a fruitarian for a while. And it was weird how as he was connecting with certain things, I was connecting with certain things that were similar or the same. And it changed once we got closer, once we got into union physically, and we were sharing what he was reading and what I was reading, I started connecting the dots, going, holy shit, when he was buying that book, I bought that book like telepathically. I was picking up on what he was reading because I was buying the books like 10 years later, 15 years later, whatever. Does that make sense? It's really interesting. Is telepathy really real with your twin? Because I was questioning it lately. I would like to know. Yes, it's really real. Jennifer, sometimes you don't feel their energy as much. Yeah. So it's very real. Yeah. And the thing about it is if you don't feel the energy, it's usually that they're shutting you down. It could be their own anger or yours or both, which would anger, any negative emotion is going to shut down the telepathy. I'm exhausted. I think I'm going to go to bed now. But what time is it? Yeah, 1:41, which is 6 again. Holy shit. If you guys listen to this live on YouTube, you're going to notice that every time I looked up, I saw 12:12, which is 6. Then I saw 10. Then I saw 6 again. Then I saw 1:1. So there were 3, 6, and then again 6. It's amazing, the numbers. Mine is very intense to the point it's been put into action. I felt it lately. The telepathy is so real, it's paranormal feeling. Absolutely. But what's funny, in a sad way, is that it scares the shit out of the average 3D person who's not on a spiritual journey. And unfortunately, they'll lobotomize the telepathy with pharmaceuticals because it makes them so uncomfortable. Sometimes I can hear my twin's conversation in his head. Yeah, I could see some of it. But, and you can also manifest things. And your twin will act upon what you manifest. Like within like hours, not even days. Wow. All right, well, my friends, any other questions or comments? I'm falling asleep, thank God. This is a good thing. I did that for a while because the conversation was so detailed and intense. Good night. Thank you, Yessie. I'm exhausted, yeah. Yeah, it was great catching up with all of you. It's always good. Thank you. Sleep well, Tony. Thank you. Yes, please get some sleep. I love you, sister. Hello. So this live will be upgraded, bloody hell, uploaded on YouTube. Andromeda Flame and I are offering a class and on Sunday, and it'll be an exciting class. It's a 2-part class. It's going to be on Tantra, tantric sex, sexuality. It's going to help you guys understand how to use it to your advantage, to use sacred sexual tantra to manifest what you need, what you want, including healing for your twin and for yourself. And if your twin is, thank you, Tom. Good night as well. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you all, Michelle, all of you, Jennifer and Andromeda and Yessie. That class is $23. So there's 2. So one will be $23 and the second Sunday will be $23. If you can't make it, you can buy the recording. There will be guided meditations attached to it for $11.11. Some people just do the meditation. They don't want the classes at all, to be honest. And some people don't want the meditation. They just want the actual classes. And the classes will have a little more intense information, not a little more, very, very much more intense, detailed, down in the weeds, detailed information about what to do, about how Tantra works, how sexual intimacy with yourself, with your twin works, even remotely. I'm not joking, and I can't really go more into it, but trust me, there are steps to take to help your twin heal, okay? And the thing about twin flame sexual intimacy is that it is so potent and powerful that it can actually overnight heal trauma. And I'll explain to you in detail what I mean. So there's no, metaphors. Oh, I'm not using metaphors when we do the class. I'm going straight up raw in language, meaning raw. So there's no second guessing shit, okay? This is not the time to be diplomatic. This is the time for you guys to learn as much as you can. So if you want to take the class, you can hit me up on a message. You can go on my website, but I honestly message me. It's all good. Or Andromeda Flame. And I'll advertise it more, and we'll go from there, okay? All right, my loves, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. Thank you for being so willing to be awake and to remain awake and to do the study and to heal yourself and to realize that you are worthy of being completely enlightened and completely free from these weird shackles that have kept us blind from our own light for thousands of years. All right. Sending you much love on your journey. Namaste.